I was once the backbone of a $2 billion tech platform until they fired me, claiming I was replaceable. They had no idea what was coming. Stay until the end to see how one line of code brought a CEO to his knees. 8 years of my life dedicated to Vertex Technologies. 8 years of skipped vacations, missed family gatherings, and sleepless nights. 8 years of building what would become a $2 billion platform from the ground up. And what did I get in return? A 15-minute termination meeting on a rainy Tuesday morning. My name is Olivia Bennett, and until 3 weeks ago, I was the lead systems architect at Vertex Technologies, one of the fastest-growing fintech companies in the country. Our platform processed transactions for over 300 major retailers nationwide. My code was the foundation of everything they built their empire on. I still remember the day I walked into their cramped office in downtown Seattle. Back then, Vertex was just a startup with big dreams and a handful of employees. CEO Marcus Blackwell sold me on his vision of revolutionizing payment processing. I was 26, bright-eyed, and eager to make my mark on the tech world. I believed in what we were building. The first 2 years were exhilarating. We worked around the clock, fueled by ambition and obscene amounts of coffee. I designed the core architecture that would eventually become the backbone of their entire operation. Every line of code I wrote was meticulous, documented, and optimized. This wasn't just a job, it was my creation. As the company grew, so did my responsibilities. My team expanded from just me to 25 developers across 3 countries. We scaled the platform to handle millions of transactions daily. When investors came knocking, Marcus would parade me around as their secret weapon. I was indispensable, or so I thought. Everything changed when Westfield Capital invested $150 million last year. Suddenly, our scrappy tech company was transforming into a corporate machine. New executives in expensive suits started appearing. Meetings became about restructuring for efficiency instead of innovation. The first red flag appeared when they hired James Keller as CTO. He came from one of our competitors with a reputation for cutting costs at the expense of quality. During our first meeting, he barely looked at my technical presentation. Instead, he asked about standardizing processes and reducing dependency on key personnel. "We need to make sure no single person holds too much power in our infrastructure," he said while looking directly at me. "It creates unnecessary risk." I voiced my concerns to Marcus, but he had changed too. The passionate founder who once valued technical excellence above all else now spoke only of market share and investor confidence. "James brings valuable experience, Olivia," Marcus said dismissively. "The company is evolving. We all need to adapt." Over the next 6 months, I watched as they systematically pushed me to the sidelines. My team was reorganized. My projects were reassigned. New developers were brought in who didn't understand the intricacies of our system, but worked for significantly less than my salary. I remember one particularly frustrating meeting where James presented his plan to modernize our architecture. His proposal would have dismantled key security features I had built, all in the name of streamlining. When I pointed out the risks, he smiled condescendingly. "Olivia, your approach was innovative for its time, but technology has moved on. We need systems that anyone can maintain, not just their original creator." The subtext was clear. They were making me obsolete. Deliberately. I wasn't naive. I knew what was happening, but I still believed in the platform I had built. I documented everything meticulously, trained the new team members patiently, and continued improving the system in ways only I understood. During those months, I found an unexpected ally in Zoe Martinez, a brilliant developer I'd hired 2 years earlier. She saw through the corporate politics and understood the technical excellence of what we'd built. "They don't get it," she told me one night as we worked late fixing issues the new team had created. "They think code is just a commodity, that developers are interchangeable parts." "That's exactly what they think," I replied, exhausted from fighting battles that shouldn't have existed. Then came that rainy Tuesday. I was called into a conference room where Marcus and James sat with a woman from HR I'd never met before. Olivia, as part of our ongoing restructuring, we're eliminating your position, Marcus said, not quite meeting my eyes. We've distributed your responsibilities across the team and streamlined the architecture division. You mean you've trained people to replace me at half the cost? I replied. James cleared his throat. We value your contributions, but the company has outgrown the need for specialized roles like yours. Technology has evolved. I sat there in stunned silence as they outlined my severance package, 3 months' pay in exchange for signing a non-disclosure agreement and a non-compete clause. 8 years reduced to a pittance and a legal document. We'll need you to hand over your access credentials immediately, the HR woman said, and someone will escort you to clear out your desk. The humiliation burned worse than the betrayal. As I was being walked out like a criminal, I passed my team, people I had hired and mentored. Most couldn't look me in the eye. Only Zoe approached me. This is wrong, she whispered. The new architecture is a mess. They don't understand what they're doing. I just nodded, too numb to respond. In less than an hour, I was standing on the sidewalk with a cardboard box of desk plants and family photos, watching the rain soak through my jacket. That night, I sat in my apartment staring at the wall. I had poured my soul into that platform. Every elegant solution, every clever workaround, every security protocol. They all had my fingerprints on them. And now I was disposable. I thought about my father, who had worked 30 years at the same manufacturing company only to be laid off when they moved production overseas. Never trust a company to value you, he'd warned me. In the end, you're just a number on their spreadsheet. I had believed tech was different. I had believed I was different. I opened my laptop and logged into my personal email to find a message from Zoe. They're already having problems. The payment gateway crashed twice today. James is blaming it on your overly complex design. This is a disaster waiting to happen. Attached was an internal memo outlining the simplification of my architecture, basically stripping away safeguards and redundancies I had built in to save money. They were dismantling years of careful work in weeks. I closed my laptop, feeling a strange mix of vindication and grief. They would learn soon enough what they had thrown away. The next day, I forced myself to start the job search. I updated my resume, reached out to contacts, and posted my availability on professional networks. I received several interested responses immediately. My reputation in fintech circles was solid, but each opportunity felt hollow. I didn't want another job building someone else's dream. I had already done that once, and look where it got me. By the end of the week, I had 3 solid offers and 1 tentative interview with a promising startup. I should have been relieved, but instead, I felt adrift. My identity had been so wrapped up in what I built at Vertex that I wasn't sure who I was without it. On Friday night, my phone lit up with a text from Zoe. It's worse than we thought. The transaction volumes are causing cascading failures. James won't admit there's a fundamental problem with his improvements. They're patching symptoms instead of addressing the cause. I took a certain grim satisfaction in this news. Part of me wanted to see them struggle, to realize what they had lost. The other part of me, the builder, the creator, hated seeing my work dismantled by incompetence. Over the weekend, I tried to disconnect. I went hiking along the coast, feeling the cold Pacific wind clear my head. I visited my sister and played with my nieces, who couldn't care less about corporate politics or system architecture. They just wanted Aunt Olivia to push them on the swings. On Sunday night, Zoe called. They're bringing in consultants, she said without preamble. Some hotshot team from New York that specializes in system rescue operations. James is telling everyone your code was unstable to begin with. That's absurd, I said, anger flaring. The platform processed billions in transactions without issues for years. Everyone who knows the truth is too afraid to speak up, she replied. They're worried about being next on the chopping block. I sighed. It's not your battle, Zoe. You should be looking out for yourself. It's not just about loyalty to you, she said. It's about integrity. What they're doing is wrong, technically and ethically. After we hung up, I sat on my balcony watching the Seattle skyline, the lights of downtown reflecting on the water. I had helped build a small part of that skyline. My work mattered, even if Vertex didn't recognize it. I decided to accept the startup offer. The team seemed passionate, the technology interesting, and the equity package generous. It was time to move on. I would call them in the morning. But fate had other plans. 8 days after my termination, I was awakened at 3:17 a.m. by my phone ringing. It was a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again and again. On the fourth call, I answered. "Olivia, it's Marcus. We have a situation." His voice had none of the corporate coolness from our last meeting. He sounded panicked. "The platform is down. Completely down. Nothing is processing. We're losing millions by the hour." I sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. "And? We need you to come in, now. Whatever you want. Name your price." I laughed softly. "Let me get this straight. You fire me, escort me out of the building, make me sign away my rights, and now you're calling me in the middle of the night because you broke my code? This isn't about— It's exactly about that, Marcus. You thought I was replaceable. You thought anyone could maintain what I built. How's that working out?" There was silence on the line. Then, "Please, Olivia. Retailers across the country can't process payments. This could sink us." I thought about all the nights I'd worked until dawn fixing problems while Marcus took credit with the board. I thought about the promotions I was passed over for, the raises that never materialized despite the company's explosive growth. I also thought about the ordinary people who would be affected. Cashiers unable to process sales, customers unable to make purchases, businesses losing revenue. This wasn't just about my vendetta against Vertex. "I'll be there in an hour," I said finally, "and we're going to renegotiate everything." I dressed quickly, my mind already racing through possible scenarios. What could have caused a complete system failure? The authentication protocols? The load balancers? The database sharding I had implemented to handle transaction volumes? On the drive downtown, I felt an odd mixture of anxiety and exhilaration. Part of me, a part I wasn't proud of, was enjoying this. They needed me. After dismissing me as replaceable, they were desperate for the knowledge only I possessed. When I arrived at the office, the scene was chaos. Developers hunched over keyboards, executives pacing nervously, and the operations team fielding frantic calls from clients. James Keller looked like he hadn't slept in days, his pristine suit replaced by a rumpled button-down with coffee stains. He couldn't meet my eyes as I walked past him. Marcus ushered me into his office. "Thank you for coming. We've tried everything. The system just locked up." "Show me," I said. He led me to a workstation where I logged in with temporary credentials. The monitoring dashboards confirmed what he'd said. The entire payment processing network was offline. Error logs flooded the screen, each a symptom of a deeper problem. It took me less than 15 minutes to identify the issue. When they simplified my architecture, they removed a crucial authentication protocol I had designed, one that required renewal every 7 days. Without it, the entire system went into protective shutdown exactly 1 week after the last authentication. It wasn't malicious code or a time bomb. It was a security feature working exactly as intended, protecting the platform from unauthorized changes. I had documented it thoroughly, but apparently no one had bothered to read my notes. I could fix it in minutes. But should I? "Well?" Marcus asked, hovering behind me. "I found the issue," I said, swiveling in my chair to face him. "But before I fix anything, we need to talk terms." His face darkened. "This isn't the time for negotiations, Olivia. The company is bleeding money." "A company you made very clear I'm no longer part of," I reminded him. "I'm here as a consultant now, and my rates just went up considerably." He ran his hand through his hair, a gesture I recognized from the early days when investor meetings would stress him out. "What do you want?" "Everything," I said simply. For the next hour, we negotiated while their platform remained offline. The board was called in for an emergency meeting, some in person, others joining virtually in pajamas and hastily buttoned shirts. They balked at my initial demands, but with each passing hour of downtime, their resistance weakened. In the end, I got everything I wanted. Full reinstatement as Chief Technology Officer with a seat on the executive board, double my previous salary, equity in the company, and complete autonomy over technical decisions. "This is extortion," James muttered as the company lawyer drafted the agreement. "No," I corrected him. "This is the cost of undervaluing the people who build the foundation you stand on." He opened his mouth to argue, but Marcus cut him off. "Just sign the papers, James." "We don't have a choice." Once the documents were signed, including the immediate termination of James's contract, I turned back to the computer. I fixed the issue in exactly 6 minutes and 42 seconds. The platform came back online, and the relief in the room was palpable. "Is that it?" one of the board members asked incredulously. "That's all it took?" "The solution was simple," I explained. "Understanding where to look was the hard part. That comes from intimate knowledge of the system, knowledge you can't get from documentation alone." As dawn broke over Seattle, the crisis team dispersed. Some went home to sleep. Others stayed to monitor the system and handle the backlog of transactions. I remained at my old desk, now reclaiming it as my new office, running diagnostics to ensure everything was truly stable. Zoe appeared with 2 cups of coffee, setting one beside me. "Welcome back, boss," she said with a small smile. "Thanks for keeping me in the loop," I replied. "You took a risk." She shrugged. "I believe in doing what's right. And this—" she gestured to the screens showing the platform running smoothly again. "This is right." In the weeks that followed, I rebuilt my team, reinstated the safeguards that had been stripped away, and established protocols to ensure what happened to me wouldn't happen to others. I reviewed every change James had implemented and methodically reversed the harmful ones. The New York consultants were sent home. The developers who had replaced my team members at lower salaries were either retrained to meet my standards or let go. I brought back several key engineers who had left after my termination. James Keller resigned, though officially it was to pursue other opportunities. Privately, I heard he had been blacklisted from most major fintech companies once word got out about his role in the Vertex disaster. Marcus avoided me for days until I cornered him in the elevator. "I built this platform," I told him quietly. "I know every line of code, every parameter, every vulnerability. I made it brilliant, and I made it secure. Never forget that." He nodded stiffly. Message received. "I'm not looking for ongoing hostility, Marcus," I added as the elevator reached his floor. "I want Vertex to succeed. That's always been my goal. But success comes from valuing the right things and the right people." The doors opened, and he stepped out. Before they closed again, he turned back. "For what it's worth, Olivia, I was wrong, and I'm sorry. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. It's been 3 months since that night. Vertex is thriving again, and under my leadership, we've expanded into new markets with technology more innovative than ever. The board members who once saw me as just another expendable engineer now seek my opinion on major company decisions. Yesterday, I approved the promotion of 3 women engineers to senior positions, including Zoe, who never stopped believing in me. We're changing the culture from the inside out, creating an environment where technical excellence is valued and technologists are respected. Last week, we launched a mentorship program for young women in STEM fields. I think about my younger self, walking into that cramped startup office 8 years ago, and wish I'd had the guidance I'm now able to provide. The lesson wasn't lost on anyone at Vertex. Sometimes the most valuable asset isn't the one making the loudest noise in the boardroom. Sometimes it's the quiet architect who built the foundation everything else stands upon. Marcus still runs the company, but we both know who really holds the keys to the kingdom. I don't abuse that power, but I won't let anyone forget it either. Our working relationship has evolved into something resembling mutual respect. He focuses on business strategy and investor relations, areas where he excels. I handle the technology and product development, where my expertise is unquestioned. I was replaceable until I wasn't. I was disposable until I became essential. I was silenced until my absence spoke volumes. The rain is falling outside my new corner office as I write this. But this time, I'm watching it from the inside, warm and secure in the knowledge that I've finally claimed my true worth. Sometimes you have to let them break something to prove you were the only one who could fix it all along. And that $2 billion platform? It still runs on my code. Only now, everyone knows exactly who wrote it and what happens when they forget. The next time someone tells you you're replaceable, remember my story. In a world built on technology, those who create it are more powerful than those who merely profit from it. Never let anyone convince you otherwise. My name is Olivia Bennett, and I am irreplaceable.